The more details that emerge from Justin Trudeau's, well, I guess not marriage, but his ex-wife's marriage, the more things they're just coming up as like massive red flags. And it's just super weird how everything was handled. It's almost similar to how you can look back over the past 3 years and say, well, over time, as things have gone on, we've seen a massive shift in our government. And there was a lot of signs in Trudeau's marriage that things weren't working out. And well, today we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into that and show you just some very bizarre things of how she's been preparing herself for this exact divorce and the news of this divorce. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I want to encourage you to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Really helps grow the channel. We're going to start off this video by thanking today's sponsor. I want to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. The best way to not only protect yourself online, but increase your internet experience is with Private Internet Access, which is why we've teamed up and offering my subscribers, you viewers, 83% off. We know that Justin Trudeau openly admires China's dictatorship, which is why he's censoring the internet, which is why he's doing all of these things to make vehicles not a part of protests. And he's just basically hammering us Canadians here. And you can't get a deal anywhere, but you can now with Private Internet Access, 83% off for my subscribers and my viewers. And for those who don't know what a VPN is, it's a way to encrypt and mask your IP address, your digital footprint online. And it not only protects you, but it actually increases your experience by allowing you to view content on streaming services or even the news for us Canadians that are worried about censorship. And you just can't do that otherwise. You can't watch Facebook news or view Facebook news without masking your IP address now because Trudeau is banning that. You can't watch your favorite TV shows on Netflix or Hulu or Crave or Disney Plus, even though our government has told us to cancel Disney Plus. You can't watch certain content in Canada because it's only available in America. So the best way to do that is with Private Internet Access. The link for that is down in the description below, as well as the pinned comment. I'm going to walk you through very quickly what you're going to come across. When you click on the link, this is what you're going to see. Mr. Sunshine Baby's #1 choice, VPN. And when you click get 83% off, it brings you to a few different options. The best one is smack dab in the middle, 2 years plus 4 months free. Again, the link for that is down in the description below. Thank you so much, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring today's video. So I came across this weird video of Sophie on stage with Trudeau where she just starts doing yoga and Trudeau is like, hey, come on, let me get back to my speech. It's really weird. We're going to watch this and then afterwards, we're going to take a look at some of the more like intimate details of Sophie actually preparing herself financially for this divorce, but it's happened years ago. Yikes.
In politics, it's really about keeping a balancing act and finding peace and quietness amidst the chaos and amidst the adversity. And so in yoga, it's always important to keep at least the hands or the feet to the ground. So, my love, when you do this, and you should be doing more of it, right? You keep your hands here, and then the balancing act goes like this, right?
That's pretty impressive.
So, you should be doing more of this, because you'd be hitting less people, my love, right? And this is really good for anger management. Tom, you want to try it?
Yeah, no.
Tom, no.
I think
all right.
Tom's not going to hurt his brand by coming up here tonight. But
hurt his brand?
I should really continue with my speech now.
You could just tell right from the beginning that she was a bit more of a hippie and wanted to live a bit more of like a regular lifestyle. And Trudeau wants the heat. He wants the controversy, which is why you've seen him act the way he has. And he tries to justify it. But let's take a look at some of these details here. Sophie Gregoire, Trudeau's next move, getting paid. Canada's unofficial First Lady is ditching the political spotlight. The next assignment, finishing up a mindfulness book. Oh my God, we're going to get all of these nitty gritty details out of this. This is insane. Sophie Gregoire Trudeau hates negative energy. Well, it seems like she might end up moving to the West Coast, specifically Vancouver Island. I know a lot of people that watch these videos are from BC and the island. Just statistically speaking, I've lived there for, I don't know, like 7 years or something like that. And there's a lot more mindfulness talk and that type of stuff happening on the island, if you know what I mean, which made her unconventional spouse in the blood sport of partisan politics. A day after she updated Instagram with the blockbuster news of her uncoupling from Canada's Prime Minister. The Liberals deleted her from the party website. So they're ready to go. Just absolutely, boom, we're done. Bye-bye, you're off the website. Her break from Justin Trudeau also included a split with the single part-time employee in the Prime Minister's office who supported her public schedule as Canada's unofficial First Lady. Her time as a political wife was a bit of a mixture of the traditional role. Gregoire Trudeau hosted luncheons and parties, she said, but also brought her experience as a TV host and reporter. She knew how to communicate and knew how to connect with an audience. And if I'm being honest, in the past, few years that I've been actually paying attention to politics, I haven't really seen her do any press conferences with Trudeau. I haven't seen her even really talk. I mean, Pierre's wife, when Pierre does speeches with events with the Conservative Party of Canada or does press conferences, his wife has more speaking role. The opposition's leader's wife has more of a speaking role than the Prime Minister's at the time wife. So this has been happening for a while. And yes, I've seen the comments. I know people are saying, well, they've been split up for years. It's just got announced yet now. I understand that. There's been a lot of signs, a lot of breadcrumb trails, but people aren't really going to react to the breadcrumb trails. It's more so the news of, hey, it's official. They've split up. No one is expecting Gregoire Trudeau, 48, to slip away from the public eye, which I think is a controversial statement because who is she? What has she done for the country? What has she done in the spotlight? To be honest, she's been irrelevant to me for a very long time. I don't see how she will maintain any relevance unless she comes with an expose of Trudeau. Here's Trudeau between the sheets, not like that type of stuff. Trudeau behind the curtain is more what I meant, not Trudeau between the sheets. All right, I'm going to leave that in. That's going to get clipped, and I'm going to regret that. I don't mean to know what Trudeau's doing in between the sheets, all right? I have a wife. I'm happily married. I don't need to know nothing about that. What I meant was Trudeau behind the scenes, not between the sheets. Maybe it's time I start editing and cut things out like that. For starters, she's working on a book that will be out next spring. And it's a mindfulness book, not an expose book, which is kind of disappointing because, well, if she's looking to secure herself financially, an expose book would be the way to go. It'd be the best seller on the planet. For starters, she's working on, New age yogi, longtime mental health champion is at work on self-help and wellness project that promises to delve into brain health and unique emotional signatures, a reflection of the positive vibes and promises of real change that first swept the Prime Minister to victory in 2015. I bet you this book gets no attention whatsoever. I do not think that Justin Trudeau will allow the liberal propaganda machine to continue to fund his ex-wife financially. And also, nobody cares about Sophie's mindfulness tactics. They really, really don't. Unless you're in the game, unless you're in it and the actual wife of the Prime Minister or whatever, then people care. But you're the ex-wife, lady. Shoo. Unless you have the expose, shoo and be gone. She also incorporated her own company last year under Your Light Communications, offering services as a communications specialist, the industry in which she worked before she married Trudeau in 2015. Sounds like a money laundering front, right? I know Trudeau's friend Mackenzie Corp got a lot of money, so I don't know how she's good at communications. I mean, she's holding the We Charity microphone, and that has a whole scandal on its own. So this is just a giant metaphor. Everything on screen right now is a giant metaphor for the reality of what's happening. Their engagement made headlines, and their Montreal wedding was a high-profile affair with bagpipers and Mounties. I'm the luckiest girl in the world, she shouted, which, without foreshadowing, saw that, well, her marriage would be a catastrophe and would crumble, and Trudeau would take out all his violent anger on Canadians, more so than he already has. Speaking of taking out anger on Canadians are losing jobs. Our unemployment rate is actually on the rise. It's almost on par with inflation if they didn't lie about inflation numbers. Let's take a look at this.
for the longest time, economists would look at their predictions, they would make predictions, and then they would be seeing their predictions left in the dust by an outperforming job market. Well, last month, economists got it wrong again, but in the opposite way, and here's what we mean. So, what was supposed to happen, according to economists? They thought there would be 21,000 new jobs added to the economy, but instead, what they got was a loss of 6,400 jobs. Now, July's loss is the second in just 3 months, and that headline wasn't the only weak point in this report. Here are some of the others that we wanted to show you. Number one, behind this less hiring that we're seeing, the jobless rate rises to 5.5%. It was just 5% back in April, 3 months earlier. So you see how short and sharp that rise has been. And that really says that you can't just explain all of this by the fact that the population is growing, there are more job hunters, creating a higher jobless rate number. Some of this has to do with weakness.
But a large part of this has to do with the amount of immigration that's coming into this country, and there's nowhere to put them, which is why you're seeing news articles like this from Global News. Nova Scotia's housing minister says there's 130,000 vacant bedrooms across the province that could be used on a short-term basis for people looking for a place to live. They want Canadians to open their house to immigrants. That's exactly what the government wants, saying, hey, look, we've brought in a lot of people and they're living under bridges and on streets. And so what we need you guys to do now is come together in solidarity as Canadians and open your doors to these immigrants that have come in so that they're not out on the streets. That doesn't seem sustainable, and I don't really know anyone that would be willing to do that outside of a prank or a bet. It seems very unsafe to just let strangers in your house to stay there because the government says that it's a good idea. I did that when I was a kid. I did that as part of a billeting program where there was kids from, that I was playing baseball with from the east side of the east coast of Canada, and they came and stayed at our house for a tournament, and it was part of a billeting program. Not as adults. No, that's a little strange. But I'd love to know what you guys think of this. Would you open your doors for immigrants if the government continues to say, hey, we need to house people because there's not enough housing? Open your doors. Would you let people in and stay with your family? Or would you say, no, that's a little weird? That's a little weird. Housing crisis. Nova Scotia minister wants people with extra space to consider home sharing. Holy crap. You can't make this up.
Are questioning why the province has failed to build new public housing units over the last 3 decades. They say the struggle began about 5 years ago when housing support workers could not find rentals.
And that kind of was the beginning of really seeing the outcrop of a disinvestment in any form of social or public housing mechanism.
Public housing is operated by the government with rent based on a household's income. Although Nova Scotia has more than 11,000 of these units, the last significant build was in 1995.
We dumped so much money into shelters, into Band-Aid approaches like, providing tents to folks that are living outside, rather than taking that leap and building much more creative, more sustainable long-term approaches.
Experts say aside from public housing, there are not enough affordable units available.
We're still not even coming close to the demand because renter household, like the percentage of renter households just keeps increasing because people can't afford home ownership and they're in more precarious jobs.
We know that the vacancy rate in Nova Scotia is around 1%, but when we talk about affordable, which again is the 30% of one's income, affordable units that are vacant in Nova Scotia is closer to 0.6%.
The province says it has no plans to build more public housing units. Instead, it will focus on making improvements to the current supply. It says record investments are being made. Government plans to spend more than $50 million over the next 4 years on maintenance.
Oh my God, that's a lot of money on maintenance. And not only are they refusing to build more places, but they're actually relying on citizens to open their doors without, without any sort of compensation, which is the strangest part.
Critics says it's important to do repairs, but you also have to get names off the wait list.
And I think we should be building public housing. I mean, it's one of the tools in the toolbox to make sure that we have housing for those that are in need.
At last count, nearly 5,000 households were waiting for public housing. That's more than 40% of the available stock. Sky Broad and Blom, Global News, Halifax.
That's pretty sketchy, ladies and gentlemen. So I'd love to know what you guys think about that. Would you ever open your doors and let immigrants stay there because the government says, hey, we're too cheap to build housing, or we jumped the gun too much on immigration, so now we need you guys. So now we're going to end this with a little bit of drama here from the Liberal Party of Canada. You've got Katie Telford, who is allegedly one of Trudeau's mistresses, potentially. Canada has 0 pro-choice Conservative MPs. And this actually got, what's this called? News checked? I'm trying to blank. Oh my goodness. It got context on Twitter is what I'm trying to say. Basically just debunking what the Liberals are saying. They're saying that Bill C-311 is a 78-word bill that does not contain the word abortion. Yet Katie Telford is saying there isn't a single pro-choice Conservative MP, which is weird to say. And then you have Melissa Lantsman, who's a Conservative MP, that's basically saying, fixing Chrystia Freeland's tweet saying, Melissa, I'm disappointed to see you peddling blatant misinformation. And Melissa fixed it, crossed it out, and wrote Katie. So there's a lot of drama, a lot of anticipation that's coming our way for the return of the House of Commons. We're like just about a month away from that happening. And it's going to be probably the craziest season of House of Commons, which I'm so excited for that to come back because I'll be streaming it every day like I have been. There's going to be a lot of drama, a lot of content, a lot of ammunition that the Conservatives hold. And well, with the reshuffling, I think there's going to be a lot of purposeful slip-ups, I suppose, right? Or pointing out that their term is expiring very soon, such as Omar Algebra, Marco Mendicino. I think that the Conservatives are going to weaponize that and say, well, you know, how about we talk about this in 3 years? Oh, sorry, you're gone in 2 type of thing. I'm really, really excited for this to happen. And not that I would ever expect these politicians to do a bench brawl, but potentially, if something's said about Justin Trudeau's ex-wife, potentially that might be enough to get Justin Trudeau infuriated enough to use his fists once again, maybe against a woman, because we know he's a misogynistic feminist. Anyways, that's where we're going to end the video, everybody. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you want to support the channel financially, you can do so by checking out the merch shop linked right up there. Or if you want to do something for free, which is also absolutely acceptable and highly encouraged, you can subscribe right there. If you want to continue watching videos like this, you can do so by clicking or tapping right there to watch the next upcoming video. And if you want to watch a little bit of different content, but also Canadian stuff, you can do so by clicking right up there. That's my second channel, House of Canada, also known as the House of Commons Highlights. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.